This video will go through a simple program. Basically, the design brief for this one was that it needed to be an app that asked a person their age, asked a person their gender, and then gave some sort of response. In this case, if you're older, it's going to give a fairly derogatory response, but if you're younger, it's going to give a much more positive response. So let's have a look. We've already set up a form, and I've previously put a video together about how to set up forms, so I'm not going to do it again, except for this one here. This is a list box, which we haven't talked about before. If we have a look at the properties of a list box, we can see that they're very similar to the ones that we've got. I've changed the name to listbox gender because that's what it's collecting. I've also changed the font and the full color to change the color and style of font. The difference with this one is it's got an item section, and you see a collection here. If I click this edit button here, you'll actually see that there's two items in this collection, male and female. Just move that a little bit. They're male and female, and they're the two options that are available in that list box. Why we've done this is to limit the data that someone can put in. It means they won't misspell it. It also means they won't put something other than what we want, so to keep our program as simple as possible. So that's how you set up a list box with the items in the collection, and you can put the number of responses that are there. Okay, so we're going to look at the script in Visual Basic, and obviously we're going to click this button, and that's going to initiate the script. So we go ahead and click on this button, we'll double click it, and that brings us to the I'll just get rid of properties in a minute. That brings us to the scripting editing page, but we need to do one thing before we start, and that's the first line, and that's put option explicit, which is our error checking system that makes sure that we've declared all our variables and spelt them correctly. So we need to do that on the first line, so we'll do that now. Okay, we've done that now, and you can see we've got option explicit on the first line. We've got public class form1, which means that we've set up a form1, and within that we're going to write a whole lot of subroutines. Well, in this case we're only going to write one, and that's the private subroutine. Private just means it's related to this form1. Public one underscore click. In other words, when we click button 1, it means that we want the program to do the following. So what do we want to do? Well, first of all, we need to make sure that the program knows what storage bases or what variables we're going to use in this program. So the first thing we do is declare our variables, and we'll do that now. The first thing now we've done is declare our variables. We've got dim age as integer. In other words, the age value is going to go in this variable called age, and the gender variable is going to go into this variable called gender. Again, we've used names that are descriptive so we know what's going on. Okay, so we've set up our storage areas. Now we need to make sure the program knows how to get the data from the form and from those text boxes we've used into the storage areas that we've set up here. So we need to start writing our program. And we need to do an if statement, because the if statement is going to make decisions. And there's two decisions it's going to make. It's going to make a decision on age. Is it above or below a certain age? And then within that, it's going to ask another question: is this person male or female? And then it will have a specific response for each of those situations. So we'll start to put up our if statement. Okay, we've done two things here. First of all, we've actually told where the age is coming from. So we've said age gets the integer value of text box age dot text. In other words, whatever someone's typed into the text box age, we're going to change that into a number. That's what these int is for, and then put that into the age variable. And the same for whatever someone's selected. Remember, it's a list box. In the list box gender, whether it's male or female, that word is going to be stored in the gender variable here. So there's where we get our data. That's collecting our data there. And then the next thing is, if age is greater than 36. Now this is just an arbitrary decision. You could choose any age you want. So the first thing we need to do then is, after we've made the decision of if it's greater than 36, then we need to determine whether the person is male or female. And we do that with another if statement inside this if statement. It's called nested if statements. Okay, so we've set up our first one. If age is greater than 36, then if gender is male, then in the text box response, hello you old fart. Yeah, it's a bit derogatory, but look, it's just a silly program. Else, now if they're not male, then with our program, the only other response they can make is they're female, then the text response is hello you old bag. Okay, and that's the end of the if statement. But what happens if they're 36 or less? Then we need some responses there, otherwise it's going to say nothing. So we need another this else. In other words, it gives you an option. If it's not one thing, then it's the other. So we need to put an else related with the first if. Remember, this is a second if inside the first if. So the first if age is greater than 36, now we have to put an else in that and then provide some responses. Okay, so let's have a look at our program now. We start with our first if. If age is greater than 36, then if gender is equal to male, then text box response, hello you old fart, else text box response dot text hello you old bag, and end if. So we knew that. And then else. Well, the else means if that person is not greater than 36 years old. In other words, if that person is 36 years old or younger, then we go through these set of questions again. If it's male, the text box response dot text is hello you young stud. Otherwise, now if they're not male, they've got to be female. So it says else text box response dot text hello you great looking chick. End if. And that ends the second set of decision making that we have. And then finally, we've got to end the first if that we started, because it was if age is greater than 36, blah, 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 else, blah, 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 end if. In other words, that's the end of it. And then finally, end sub, that's the end of our little subroutine, and that's all we want it to do. So that's how we write a nested if statement. And sorry if you're offended by the program.